Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
And thanks for joining us for this edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, and in a moment we'll be joined by City Manager Mark Roloff. In the first half of today's show, we'll have some municipal news updates, including information from city departments and news that residents can use. In the second half, we'll highlight items from the upcoming Tuesday, April 23rd, Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. And with that, we bring in our City Manager, Mark Roloff. Mark, thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here, Andy.
All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about today, especially in the first half of the show. I know that one of the things that has been in the news a lot lately has been PFAS and chemicals that are in the water. And the Environmental Protection Agency recently announced some new federal standards for those substances in drinking water. And Oshkosh's water tested very safe.
Yeah, fortunately, that's for us. That's the most important thing we want to talk about, because these are brand new standards, because the federal government had no standards for PFAS, and we've probably been talking about PFAS as a compound of concern for about 7 to 8 years. And that's been something that we've been concerned about. Fortunately, for municipal utilities, municipal water utilities that have that use surface water, like Lake Winnebago, PFAS is generally not considered a major concern, and the testing that we have been doing confirm that. So the federal government set a standard of 4 parts per trillion, and our numbers have been either coming in at about 1 part per trillion, so we're only 25% of the standard, or because we're measuring in parts per trillion, it's so minuscule that in some cases we haven't been able to detect PFAS at all, which means it's well under the 1 part per trillion. So that's the good news for all of us. But I think for people who are curious about this, these PFAS, that's essentially a chemical that helps resist grease, oil, water, and heat. You've seen it on boots. You've seen it in various foams that are used to repel fire, a lot of waterproofing materials.
Non-stick surfaces.
Non-stick surfaces, things like that. And because they don't degrade easily, and since they've been in use since the 1940s, we've got about 80 years of PFAS being out there in the environment. But it can seep into wells, which we do not use. So you've heard a lot about like up in the Marinette area, which even though they're right on the bay, they use, in many cases, they use well water. Some parts of the city actually use surface water. Ours is 100% surface water, so we knew that we would be in better shape, but until the feds set that standard, we didn't even know if we were going to fall in an area of concern. But certainly the widespread use of PFAS means that that contamination is there. It's called a forever chemical because it breaks down so slowly, and that's, I think, the big fear and concern. So right now the feds have said 4 parts per trillion. I wouldn't say is an acceptable amount. It's the standard that they've set, and we're well beneath that. And I think things can adjust. The feds could change the standard tomorrow, and they could go up or down. But we're well within the standard that's currently set, and we're going to continue to monitor it. We're required by law now to monitor that, but at least now we know what the target is, and we'll be okay. But the communities that have well water, they're going to have to look at it a lot more closely, and I would say that as you're looking at different communities, that's one of those things you may want to check out. We're very fortunate that we use surface water, that PFAS contamination just isn't an issue in our waters. But as things drain into Lake Winnebago, over time, it's something we have to continue to keep an eye on.
Well, and I know that our water utility folks are very concerned about the health and safety of our water supply, and they make it their mission to ensure that we have the best water here in Oshkosh.
Yeah, I think you're going to see requirements to do more reporting of it to give people that assurance that, number one, we have measured it, and number two, that we're below the threshold that is set by federal law. And so I think now you'll see the state start to fall into line with what the federal regulations are, so there's consistency. But happy to report we're well under that standard, and we'll keep monitoring it to make sure we stay under that.
Very good. Okay. Well, continuing on the theme of environmental topics, Mow May is returning for 2024, and this gives an opportunity for our pollinators to kind of get a little of a boost in the spring.
Yeah, Mow May it's a conservation initiative, and our Sustainability Advisory Board has been recommending this for a number of years, and the idea is that creates that habitat that gives resources for bees and other early season pollinators. So Mow May is voluntary, it's free of charge, but registration is required. We want to know that somebody is taking a conscious effort to, hey, I know what I know why I'm not mowing, I know what I'm doing, and even there's more information out there that depending on how high your grass gets, you may actually want to mow it very high at a certain part of the month to keep it. Actually, if it gets too tall, apparently the bees can't get down to where they need to get down to. So, there's a lot more to it. But for those people who are conscientious about it and register, they're keeping their eye on this stuff. And we want to encourage that. And we don't want to punish them because our law says you got to keep it down to a certain height. Yeah. This relaxes it for the month of May. So we'll see what happens, and I think the registration deadline is May 1st. So before you stop mowing or before you start, please register. And then there's also stuff in our Hot Topics section, right?
Right, exactly. On the Hot Topics section of the city's website, we do have a registration form there where there's a link to that, and you see the registration form on the screen right there. So it is important that folks get registered before May 1st for Mow May, and that way they can proceed with it from there. But there's more information also on some of the pollinators' websites. So, right. And another topic, Mark, is that we also have some bridge closures that are coming up in May.
Yeah, this is the Wisconsin Department of Transportation does an annual inspection and some routine maintenance on all of our bridges, our 4 bridges in Oshkosh. And so they're going to start this on May 6th. And you can see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you travel the bridge any day, any time of those days, you may want to be on the lookout for that. So Wisconsin Street on Monday, May 6th. May 7th, there'll be Congress and Oshkosh Avenue. May 8th, Oregon and Jackson Street. And then May 9th will be Main Street itself. So, again, these are all done by the DOT. It's part of their annual maintenance process. Unfortunately, you may recall a couple years ago where the Jackson Street Bridge was closed for a number of months because they did find a problem out there. So It's about safety, and given everything that just happened recently in Baltimore, our bridges aren't nearly as big or as consequential, but they are important to the people that drive them. So this maintenance is a very important part, but I like to put that it's Wisconsin DOT doing it. So those, I will say it right here, the times and dates are subject to change. This is what they've told us now. If they have a problem with a bridge and they get delayed, it may delay it. If something else happens on a bridge inspection somewhere else and the DOT wants to wait, they may slow it down. So we'll keep telling people about it, but look, we'll get it out on social media. And, on the flip side, if things go well and the inspections go great, they may open it up at 3 o'clock or something. But count on that 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's a pretty reliable indicator right now. Right.
And as you mentioned, these inspections are critical because I believe that when the problems were discovered with the Oregon-Jackson Street Bridge, that was because through one of these inspections.
Right. One of the inspectors heard something that just didn't seem right. And so the inspector said, well, let's look a little deeper, and that's when they found that gear. It wasn't that it was going to be somewhat a safety issue. It would have completely shut down the bridge for a long time. Well, it was a pretty long time to start with because parts were hard to come by. But it's that inspection that ensures that the reliability of the bridge will be there for the long term. So they're necessary evil, even though they're a little bit inconvenient.
Well, continuing on the topic of our bridges in Oshkosh, we also have a bridge painting project that we're looking toward 2026 for the Wisconsin Street Bridge.
Exactly, and I'll say it again. It's the Wisconsin Department of Transportation is doing that. Our folks aren't going to be out with a spray can or doing anything. This bridge was actually dedicated back in 2008, so by that time it'll be close to 18 years. And so it's time to remove deteriorating paint, repaint the structural steel. That extends the life of the bridge. So it's clearly in our best interest for the state to be doing that. It's currently scheduled for 2026, and so the Wisconsin DOT staff will be holding some virtual meetings for people to hear about what they plan on doing, what their tentative plans are, and they'll have they'll have a project website developed that shows the traffic impact, the maps, the exhibits. If you were here in 2008, it was an inconvenience while it was getting done. And the bridge painting, while it seems routine, they just don't use a spray can. They do a very methodical job of it. So they want to get the word out. 2 year advance notice. Hopefully that's enough for everybody. But we'll keep plugging it so people are aware of it as time goes on. And once we have a little more detail after the virtual meeting, we'll learn a little bit more ourselves, and so we'll be able to start sharing that information with everybody. Sure.
It's more than just a simple painting. It's actually, they call it a construction project.
Yeah, it is. So it's a very, it's a meticulous part of the project because they're checking, making sure the structural steel is still okay. And if they see anything, they will take care of it then because they don't want it to become a bigger problem as time goes on.
Sure. Okay. And we will keep everyone updated on that one as well. All right. We wanted to give a reminder to folks that the Oshkosh Public Museum continues to have their food drive called Make Hunger History, and they've been very successful with that so far, but we want folks to continue to take advantage of it.
This is a wonderful partnership that the Oshkosh Public Museum has with the Oshkosh Area Community Pantry. And so this is about talking about hunger in the community. Visitors to the museum, they have the opportunity to participate by donating new, unopened, non-perishable food or hygiene items. And in exchange for their donation, you'll get a complimentary general admission. And the museum is doing a lot to do some education about hunger in the community and the history of it. And so this is a great way to make people aware of a very real issue in our community, and if you want to help in that process as well. So it continues through the month of April, and we're very appreciative of the partnership between the Oshkosh Public Museum and our community pantry.
Right. And folks don't even, if they don't have time or don't care to tour the museum, they can actually just stop by and drop something off for sure. Just a hygiene item or a non-perishable food. They're very happy to accept those. So there's more information on the Oshkosh Public Museum's website, oshkoshmuseum.org, and that's where you can learn a little bit more about the campaign and a little bit more about what's all going on at the museum. There's a lot going on over there. Actually, one of the things that ties in with the museum, unfortunate that we're losing our wonderful director at the public museum, but she's moving on to a very exciting opportunity for her over in Idaho.
Yeah, Sarah Phillips, our museum director since 2021, has accepted the position of the director of the Idaho State Museum, the entire state museum at the Idaho State Historical Society. Now, actually, that's where Sarah originally comes from. So I think we gave her some really great training because she was a very, big student of museum management. She very much loves it and takes, a lot of initiative, and she's done some wonderful things. So she's going to continue with us through May 10th. And during her time, she's really energized and highlighted many assets of the museum, like our Tiffany collection, which was one thing that actually drew her to this position in the first place. Yeah. And she made a point of highlighting that for all the community, and she certainly increased my awareness of it, and she's done a great job of telling other people about it, and I think that's something that will continue. That'll be, even though it'll be a short legacy, that will be her lasting legacy of promoting that and involving a lot of community groups, carrying on the tradition that was set by her predecessor, Brad Larson. So we're going to miss Sarah, and we have to start the process to find a replacement, but we wish Sarah well. She's done a wonderful job for us.
Yeah, she certainly has, and a lot of great new initiatives and a lot of energy, like you said, over at the Public Museum. Okay. Well, Mark, occasionally we get some questions from folks, social media or otherwise, about various topics relating to things with the city. And one of the questions was, how long does it take to replace a lead service line lateral water line to a home? And I know that there's a lot of moving pieces with that, but generally it's not really that long to replace that.
No, and I think a lot of people, I think people want to get lead laterals replaced and everything, but they're concerned, oh my gosh, how long am I going to be out of water? And actually, we've checked with a lot of our projects, and there's a lot of work, as you can see, with all the digging that goes on and everything, but we're doing a lot of things along the way when we're doing a lateral. So
sure.
But the short answer is it generally takes about an hour. That doesn't include the excavating itself, but once we get down to your lateral, that's when it takes about an hour. And even in that case, steps are taken to minimize the amount of time the property is actually without water service. We get a lot of things set up once we do the excavation. So, when they're excavating, you don't have to worry about the water being out. And when they backfill, you don't have to worry about it. But it's that magic moment where they are switching things out. And that's actually a pretty small time. But we generally figure it takes about an hour. So to the degree you're concerned about how long it might take, please know that that's the case. Couple things about our rules, because by law, once one side or the other, either once the city's lateral from the main to your property line is replaced, once we've done that, the property owner has 90 days to get their service line going from their property line into their house. They got 90 days to get it replaced. And there is some evidence that when you don't have a compatible line there connecting, it can perhaps loosen up some lead. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. Similarly, if the property owner gets it done before we do the lateral, city has 90 days to get the lateral done. It's a two-way street. We both have to do it. But in every case, if the property owner replaces their side first, we have 90 days, but we will put in a water filter that is certified for lead removal to make sure that the lead is filtered out until both lines are replaced. And we know that that's all the stuff you hear about Flint, Michigan. Those are the protections that they did to make sure that didn't happen in those cases. So we'll do it. But it only takes about an hour, so don't let that deter you from getting your lead line replaced. Right.
And for that switchover, I know that the crews are very conscious of that and try to minimize that time as best they know how to do to make it a very quick transition.
Yeah.
So, all right. And then also, Mark, we wanted to make a mention, I believe we mentioned it last time, but over at the Oshkosh Parks Department, they are looking for seasonal employees, and so we'd like to spread the word that there are some great opportunities for some summer employment.
Yeah, I know over the years that there are many adults who harken back to when they had worked for the city and the Parks Department and things like that. Many people I know over the years have done that. So parents and grandparents, tell your kids that there are some great opportunities to learn some great skills by being a seasonal employee for our Parks Department. Some of the open positions include, attendance at the Lake Fly Cafe, our special event staff, maintenance positions throughout the park system. So if you like the outdoors, we are a great place. And if you're really cool and over 18, you get to drive the train at Menominee Park. So there's a lot of different things you can do. And we're also looking for volunteers to help out with our Brews on the Bay events and so many other activities and programs. But the other positions do pay. So to view those positions and apply, just check out the Parks Department website or give them a call at 920-236-5080. And again, parents, tell your kids this is a great job. Good character builder for them.
Right. It's a great opportunity. Okay, then also we wanted to make mention that our annual spring cleanup for yard waste and such takes place beginning April 22nd.
Yeah, this is extended over the regular, once a month pickup. Spring cleanup begins April 22nd and it runs through May 10th. And this is going to be on your regular garbage day. So here are a couple of the hints about, putting your brush and leaves in a biodegradable bag, or if they're larger branches, bundled and tied. The brush needs to be less than 3 inches in diameter and bundled in 4-foot length so that our folks can handle it easily and not to exceed 50 pounds. And we do say no grass, root balls, or stumps. If you want to check out our hot topics under our website, gives you more details on brush collection as well. So it's time to start doing spring cleaning, and we're happy to help you make it a little easier.
Right. Absolutely. All right. It's nice to be talking about things about spring. All right. I believe we'll keep it right here, and actually we'll turn our attention now to the agenda items from the upcoming Tuesday, April 23rd Common Council meeting. And it looks like we have quite a few items on this agenda, Mark. And under the consent agenda, we just talked about lead service line replacement, and it looks like we're adopting some updates to our policy regarding that.
Yeah, our policy, we've been trying to provide some financial assistance. So our policy is getting tweaked a little bit to number one, increase the maximum financial assistance that we can give property owners up to $2,700 because the price of these service line replacements have been going up. Additionally, we've been working to try to help very low income people who may not simply don't have the funds, and we want them to be able to have the same benefit from lead service line. So we're tweaking the program that'll increase the likelihood of 100% financial assistance for those who are qualified as very low income per the federal guidelines. So we want to be able to do that. All the other property owners will still be eligible for a 50% financial assistance, and we're tweaking the program to make that happen. So we're happy to be able to do that because we want to encourage people to get these lead laterals replaced in the lead service lines on their own property.
Okay, all right, very good. Then also under the consent agenda, we also have an item where we're making some landscape improvements on select roundabouts and medians around the city.
If people watch regularly, they may have seen something where the council approved some funds to match some funds that have been getting raised by the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation, and they're partnering with Zilgis Materials to spruce up our landscape improvements on select roundabouts and medians in the city. And these were started to put in about 2008 or so.
Right.
And they're starting to show their age, which landscaping often does. And we're trying to improve it so that it still looks very nice, but tries to keep the maintenance on the relatively low side. So we're happy about this partnership. And so this is simply about the council accepting the donation. So you'll see some of the roundabouts have some activity this summer as we have somebody out there to spruce them up for us.
Very good. Nice to beautify the city and all of its corners all around the entire city. Okay, then we also have another item under consent, approval of sale of fermented malt beverages at Rainbow Memorial Park by the Parks Department. And is this something new for us? I don't believe that we've actually ever had those types of sales over at Rainbow Park.
That's correct. We have not done that, but with all of the uncertainty going on with the removal and replacement of the Pratt Trail Road, we've made the decision that we're going to move Brews on the Bay over to Rainbow Memorial Park for 2024. So we've already had this permission to do this at the park, at Menominee Park, but now we're going to give ourselves permission to do that so that for the 2024 season, we'll be able to have that. So those are the dates. In June, July, August, and September. So look for those coming up with a few more details about that. But this is really about just making sure that we can do the sale of the different beers that are available through our program. So happy to see it. A great event, and people will be able to see Rainbow Park this time instead of Menominee Park.
A little change in venue, but it'll still be a wonderful event. I know they have a great thing going on with that. Okay, speaking of great things going on, we also are approving Waterfest to use the Leach Amphitheater, and Waterfest is always a favorite of local residents.
A lot of special event approvals are going on at this meeting, but Waterfest is obviously one of the highlights. Just so everybody knows, be on the lookout from the Chamber's website, the Waterfest website. The program starts June 13th, runs through August 21st. So look for those concert series. And then another one that we also want to talk about, another special event, because it was the first time last year, was the Dragon Boat Festival that came back, and it was so successful, the group is going to do it again. It's going to be September 14th. You'll hear more about it in the coming months, but we wanted to let people know that it was such a well-received event that it's going to continue again. So we're excited that the Northeast Wisconsin Chinese Association saw how successful it was and wants to continue it.
It's a unique event and great to see it return.
It's a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, the crowds were great.
Okay, all right. Well then, under our pending ordinances, we have an annexation to the city from the town of Oshkosh, and this relates to Valley Christian School. Yeah,
Valley Christian School is improving in terms of attendance and the number of how much space they need to continue to serve their mission. So they've acquired some property over on Vinland, and it's actually lines up pretty much with where we've been talking about Furnow Road getting extended over time. So, or Furnow Avenue, excuse me. So you'll see this is the property in the blue that they've acquired, and that little Outlot 1 is something that we've kind of had in our minds for a number of years. So the process to get started is, we've got it in our capital improvement program. It's not funded yet, though, so we're going to be working on that and coming back to council. But you can see generally long-term where Valley Christian wants to go, but having that improved access is part of that. So you can see with our next graphic here, that's the proposed extension, so that will connect from Jackson Street all the way to Vinland. So we're really excited that Valley Christian is doing this expansion and that we may have an opportunity to extend Furnow. So be on the lookout for this. All we're doing is approving the annexation and a little bit of land acquisition process to start acquiring some of the right-of-way to get the intersection at Jackson going. But be on the lookout for this project.
So they're two separate agenda items, but they're actually related.
Oh, absolutely related. We wouldn't be doing one without the other.
Okay, all right. One connected to the other one. All right, then our last item that we're mentioning here is we have a future workshop, and this is where we're talking a little bit about the undergrounding of utilities. Yeah,
this has been an issue that the council itself has not addressed for easily over 10 years, but it's about a lot of folks have said, well, we should be undergrounding our utilities like other communities do. And it's not as simple as everybody thinks. So what we're doing is staff's currently meeting with utilities, and it's not just WPS, although we've already met with them, but there's so many other utilities that have above ground utilities. Think phone companies, telecom companies, things like that.
Sure.
So the council has to have a workshop, and they may very well take a look at, do they want to change the policy on when we do undergrounding? A lot of times undergrounding is done without our knowledge, but we need to educate the council on what the issues are so they can make an informed decision if they want to change the policy. So just be on the lookout for that. I know it got people got interested in it with the Wagoo project, and we're unable to do undergrounding there. So council's like, well, let's learn more about this.
Okay, it's always good to have more education and to continue to talk about it. All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time today, and thanks for all these insights into all these different topics.
Always a pleasure, Andy.
All right, and thank you very much for joining us today for our City Manager's Report. Again, that Common Council meeting is at 6 p.m. this Tuesday, April 23rd at City Hall, 215 Church Avenue. You can watch that live on GovTV, which is Spectrum Channel 10, UVerse Channel 99, and streaming on YouTube or OshkoshMedia.org. Or you can also listen on the radio, Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is online, and on the TuneIn Radio app for phones and tablets. So again, thanks for joining us today, and please join us again in 3 weeks for another City Manager's Report.